Okay. All right. Uh, we're going to head and get started. A little bit of housekeeping up front. As a reminder, right now, this meeting is being recorded, and I don't want that to make you shy, but I also do want to make sure that makes you be appropriate. It is being recorded for posterity's sake, and for those who Bob and others have working on the court tonight. Um, and for those of us tonight who don't have family engagements or aren't on the court, I'm just going to say up front, I appreciate all of you logging in tonight and joining us. We are going to be going through the postseason exam. There's 30 questions on there, and like we've done before in the past, I have typed in all the questions into Zoom for questions, and they're going to be loaded up as quizzes. And so it would be awesome that if you are able to, if you're on whatever device you're on, laptop, desktop, iPad, or something, if you are able to play along. I'll leave the questions up for not that long, and we're really only going to talk about those that maybe not all of us get right. Just remember, I can't see your particular answer, so I don't know that John Doe hasn't gotten a single one right tonight. So just go ahead, play along if you're able to, and it kind of adds to influencing what we need to talk about and what we can just kind of move on with. That said, I am the only one here tonight. Jim and Rick and John and others, they're on the court right now. And so I am going to be keeping an eye on the chat box as best I can. So if you ask a question about a particular question, before we get moving along, feel free to take yourself off mute and say, "Hey Shane, I have a question." Put it in the chat box. Maybe you didn't see it, and just ask that question real fast, and we can talk about that before we move on. If anybody has any questions like, oh, what was the answer to number five or something like that, don't come off mute for that. We can save that till the end if, for example, you joined late or you just missed the answer or as we were going along, or maybe some people in the chat can help you. So, with that said, let's just rock and or roll. We got about nearly 50 people loaded up here, so hopefully we can get a good sampling of people uh, responding to the questions. So, we're going to start with number one. Now, first of all, can you guys see the poll? All right, I see a few
Yep.
people. I see a few.
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, thank you, Nolan. I see a few people responding, so I won't read all the answers, but when a throw-in is awarded to the wrong team, at which point can the mistake be corrected? Back in the day, we used to not be able to correct it after a certain point, and now we have a little bit more a little bit more leeway. Perhaps I gave a hint. Perhaps I gave it away. All right, we got about 50 participants. I see just about 30 people responding. And again, I'm not looking for a bare minimum, but usually what happens is as we go along, I see after a few questions about how many people are playing along. And so once the respondents start to slow down, I'll just go ahead and post it. And I'm also kind of keeping one eye also on the waiting room too. So I am definitely multitasking tonight. All right, let's end the poll. I got just about nearly 40 people responding. And if I forget to share results, sometimes I do that, just, you know. All right, so the answer for this one, you should all see that the correct answer is D. Before the first dead ball, after the ball becomes live, unless there's a change in possession. So imagine a scenario where We give the ball on an alternating possession throw in to the wrong team. It is inbounded and they dribble around for 20 seconds. We can still correct at that point because there hasn't been a dead ball. Um, but if that team shoots and makes a basket, that becomes a dead ball. It's too late at that time. And if you get like buzzed over, it's too late at that time to change it. Or if they dribble around and there's a turnover like 2 seconds later, that's a change of possession. It's too late to correct at that point. And how can we prevent this from even happening? Is whoever is opposite the table after an alternating possession arrow, once the ball is inbounded, just glance over the table, make sure they flip the arrow. Some of the common times where they're going to forget to flip the arrow, there's a held ball and a team calls a timeout, a full timeout. And now you're inbounding the ball later. I've had it happen during a college game where the table has forgotten to flip the arrow after a timeout. So after any significant delay, when there's, an alternating possession throw in, us as officials might forget it's an alternating possession throw in. Those are times where we want to make sure that that arrow is going to get corrected. Or at the beginning of the game, when something goofy happens, starting a game with a technical foul, division line throw in, or anything like that that's out of the ordinary, pay special attention to the table and help prevent the arrow, being given the wrong way. All right, I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to go back and we're going to move on to number two. All right. What is the result if two players from the same team wish to participate and they both have different numbers on their uniforms than the numbers indicated in the scorebook? Both players get a technical foul, just a single team technical foul, single administrative technical foul, or two administrative technical fouls. Provide your answer and let's see what the majority of us say. From the four answers, we know some variation of technical foul or fouls. We know that much. All right. Looks like we have about nearly 40 people responding. I'm going to end the poll. I'm going to share the results. And the correct answer is C. About two-thirds of us got this one right, and really nearly about 80% of us got it right that, we figured out that it was just going to be a single technical foul. Uh, Anytime there's like similar administrative technical foul infractions or multiple technical foul administrative infractions like that, it's only going to result in one. This is to like say the bookkeeper like shifted all the numbers and the players' names by one. And now you got 10 wrong players and 10 wrong names just because somebody got confused. And that's to avoid shooting, 20 technical foul free throws, something ridiculous like that. Uh, Now, it's important that it's an administrative technical foul. So the coach, it's not going to be a direct foul to the head coach. It's not going to count towards losing the coaching box or anything like that. So that's important to remember as well. Any questions on that? And you don't have to say no, but if there are, feel free to come off and we can talk about it. All right. Let me met somebody. Stop sharing. We seem to understand that one though. All right. Number three. A1 releases a try from the right side of the basket while the ball is airborne, but not on its downward flight and not within the cylinder. B2 slaps the backboard on the opposite side of where the shot was. What is the correct ruling? We're going to play on basket interference, player tech, or goaltending? Okay, I like this one coming in. This is going to be a good one, I think, to talk about. All right. See, we got about 54 respondents and nearly 45 have answered, so I think that is sufficient. Okay. So it looked like it was about a half and half split between legal play, no violation, and the correct answer, which was C, player technical foul on B2 for unsporting conduct. Now, I can understand why legal play, no violation. That is what I'm going to say is that's our default mode. That's going to be our default, you know, situation that it's just going to be legal play, no violation, because we don't want to have to necessarily upgrade that to a technical foul unless it's obvious that they're trying to draw attention to themselves, trying to make a show of it, or just really trying to not make a play on, the block. The way they wrote this is that that slap is occurring on the other side of the basket, meaning there's no way he was making an attempt to block. I'd be hard to argue that he was trying to go for a rebound or something like that. So they could have made the answer even more obvious by saying he slaps it on the opposite side of the backboard with forceful intent and, made it even crazier. Um, I'll be honest, I've never seen this in real life in any of my games, but the point is that this is to draw a distinction between what we can now simply make it a basket interference, where somebody is going for that block and they slap the backboard on the same side that the shot's taken, and that basketball rim and backboard are now shaking as the ball hits the backboard and the rim. You can come up with a basket interference now. Before it was either nothing or a technical foul, and so this question was meant to draw a distinction between that, trying to make a scenario where no one could interpret that it was illegal, that they were just trying to make a legitimate attempt in the block. So that's why the answer for this one is C, player technical foul for unsporting conduct. All right. Number four. Following a jump ball between A1 and B1, the ball is temporarily possessed by A2 before being tied up by B2. Which of the following is true? Anybody can participate in the next jump ball. A2 and B2 must participate jump ball. Balls awarded Team A for alternate possession throw-in, or the balls awarded to Team B for the possession throw-in. And yes, this is one of those situations at the beginning of the game that if it happens, somebody should be kind to the people at the table and slow down with them and make sure we know who's going to have the alternating possession, because all this kind of thing is going to happen bing bing real fast. For those of you just joining, while I wait for a couple more, name, MHSA ID number into the chat box for attendance purposes. And if you're seeing poll questions, please play along. It's fun logging your responses. All right, I got most people answering. I'm going to end the poll. I'm going to share results. And I'm not going to belabor this point. Most of us got this one right because the ball was possessed by A2. They Team B, if the table had had time to set the arrow would have been set to Team B. And so then once it's once it's a held ball again, now Team B is going to get it. But if that happens a quick succession, just slow down, get everything right, talk about it, and figure it out. If the ball had not been temporarily possessed, the answer would be B. A2 and B2, the two new people who got tied up. If there's a held ball before the alternating possession arrow is is set, the two people who tied it up have to jump it up. All right, stop sharing. Moving on. Question 5. After the ball goes out of bounds on an errant pass, Team A's head coach requests a timeout. Before the timeout has been reported to the scores table, L1 yells at the official in frustration. What is the correct ruling? Before the timeout has been reported to the table. What is the correct ruling? So this goes to uh, the clarification kind of new rule this year as far as who and who is not bench personnel. When do players on the floor become bench personnel? So that's what this goes to. All right, I'm going to end this one early, even though most people haven't, because we have a consensus overwhelming. 90+%. Player technical foul on A1 for unsporting conduct. Once that uh, timeout is reported to the table, 3-second timeout, blue called by the coach. Go ahead, start the clock. Then that player says something. That player's considered bench personnel. And why does that matter? Because if they get a technical foul when they're officially bench personnel, the coach would receive an indirect technical foul, which means they lose the coaching box. But because he did it beforehand, it's only a player technical, and then you just, administer that as normal, and the coach gets to keep the coaching box. All right. Few people joining us. Feel free to answer these questions along with us. It's more fun the more people answer. A1 is driving to the basket in an attempt to make a fast break layup. Following the release of A1's attempt, try and attempt are redundant. B2 blocks the shot. Which scenarios below would result in goaltending? Which of these would result in goaltending? And if I have time tonight, I have a wonderful example that was shared, and I haven't had a chance to share it yet with everybody via email, but there was a wonderful example of this that happened in a game for one of our members recently. All right. We have most people getting this one either completely right or partially right. So the correct answer is D, because both A and B are correct. After it's touched the backboard and is continuing its upward flight, or after it's touched the backboard and is above the ring. Basically, anytime a defender swats that ball after it has touched the backboard, it's goaltending, just boom. And so I love to see that everybody either picked one of the two correct answers or they picked the one that both A and B. So I'll show an example of that one later if you guys can help me remember, because it was a really great example. It was an overtime, less than 10 seconds, and I was like, wow, that's cool. All right.
Hey Shane, real quick.
Yeah.
So once the ball touches or hits the backboard, isn't it considered to be on its downward flight instead of its upward flight, as the word is written here?
It's they make no distinction.
Okay.
It used to be where we had to determine whether it was or was not on its upward flight. But yeah, whether we consider it on its downward flight or we just say that it is ultimately, it is goaltending.
Okay,
So,
because I thought that was part of the rule change this year, where if it hit the backboard, it would be considered on its downward flight.
yep.
So, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, again, whether it's, I guess what we're talking about is what it is technically considered and what's actually happening in real life.
Yeah.
Regardless, we are going to consider that on its downward flight, and any touch by the defense after that is going to be considered goaltending. All
Okay.
right, moving on. Number seven, a situation in which there is a common foul by both teams at approximately the same time, but the fouls are not committed by opponents against each other is known as what? So we're not talking about two people who maybe are trying to box each other out and they hook each other with the elbows or they, grab each other and they go down in a heap and you're thinking to yourself, you both are fools, you're both getting a foul. We're not talking about that. We're talking about A1 fouls B1 and on the other side of the court, B2 fouls A2 and it happens at the same time. What is that called? And if you're wondering how often this happens, I have had this happen to me once in 25 years. So it's not unheard of, but it's not very common. And I actually have it on film. Happened during a Clarkson girls game. I was actually with Charles Johnson and Rick Massa, for those of you who know CJ. So, all right, I'm going to end the poll because most of us are getting this one correct. It is C, simultaneous foul, because they happen at the same time. Now, where can you find like this? Whenever you get a question like this, for those of you who are maybe new to get into the rule book, this is going to be in your definition section. This is going to be in Rule 4. Just look under in the index, look under foul, and you just have a whole list of them, and most of them are going to be 4 dash something, 4 dash 19, 4 dash 30, whatever, and just go to that, and it'll tell you exactly what it is. And that's kind of part of learning how to like kind of read the rule book. And the more you're into it, the more the way the rule book is laid out kind of makes sense to you. Oh, hold on a second. Somebody else in. All right, number 8. A1 has a throw in along the end line. A1 throws the ball inbounds, but no player touches the ball. A1 runs after the ball and is the first to touch it near the division line. What is the result? And Adam, I see you're on here. And I saw your email, read your email. This is one where there could be a little bit of a conversation or not. All right. I see the lead. All right, we got most people answering. This is awesome. About two-thirds are responding, so we're getting a good number result. Okay. The official correct answer is A, but a healthy minority of us selected C. And I can understand why those who answered C answered it in the way that they did, because you're thinking to yourself, maybe nearest to where the violation occurred. Um, and I'm going to give everybody this rule reference, and you guys can look it up. The rule reference that they're really hanging their hat on for A being the correct answer is Rule 9-2, Article 6. The thrown ball shall not touch the thrower in the court before it touches or is touched by another player. And so it's similar to the thrower throws the basketball through the net, through the hoop, or they throw it out of bounds without it being touched. Those are throw-in violations, and they come back to the original spot of the throw-in. So that's how they're viewing this, and that's how they, are interpreting this and want us to administer it. But what a lot of us are probably thinking of is the updated new rule, which is 9-2 Article 12, the thrower shall not purposefully and or deceitfully delay returning after legally being out of bounds and then become the first player to touch the ball after returning to the playing court. So that's, you know, you throw it in and you run around the end line out of bounds to, try to get an advantage and you come back on. If that happens, the ball's already been properly inbounded. That violation is going to be at the spot as far as like where you're going to inbound it. And so that's the distinction. That's the distinction there. So in this situation, he didn't deceitfully, delay returning, to the court. It falls under, 9-2, Article 6. So that's where they were coming from. There was some, conversation about this particular one. But most of the time, if you get the spot of the, where you're going to give the ball to the correct team, if you get the spot wrong, most of the time it's not going to matter, but it could matter if we're talking under a minute. And, you know, it's kind of like, the team that's down 2 points, they're defending a throw in underneath their basket for Team B, and Team B rockets that ball out of bounds without being touched. And you're going to give the ball to where that ball got thrown out of bounds, now 50 feet away from the defense's bucket. No, you got to bring it all the way back and make sure you don't take advantage away from the team that was on defense there. So, yeah, so we see some conversation like even with 9-2-6, it is not a violation until he touches the ball and could lay on the floor half an hour without a whistle. And um, you know, I guess you can make that argument that's not a violation until, similar to like when a ball is thrown out of bounds, it's not a violation until that ball hits, out of bounds, perhaps 50 feet away from the original throwing spot. So they're going to maybe work on tightening up that language a little bit, but effectively, that's how they want us handling it. They want us to treat it like, those other throwing violations that we're more familiar with. Oh yeah, Adam also says issue with this one. They changed the penalty for 9-2 and removed wording of the ensuing throw and going back to the original spot. It doesn't say that anymore, but NFHS is going to put out interpretation or add verbiage back into the rule book next year. So this is just another example that guess what? The rule book is written by humans, and like all humans, we are imperfect, and so are those things that we create. So it's a work in progress. It's a living document. Number 9, after the ball goes out of bounds on an errant pass, teammates head coach requests a timeout. After the timeout has been reported to the scorer's table, after the timeout's been reported, A1 kicks a chair on the bench in frustration. What is the correct ruling? So this is slightly different than one we had earlier. And I'm not going to wait too long for this one because I am seeing a near universal consensus. I'm just going to end it right now. We're going to move on. C, bench technical foul for team A, assessed indirectly to the head coach and directly to A1. So again, this goes to that new rule. When does somebody become bench personnel? And so in this case, it is after that timeout's been reported. That one doesn't need much conversation. Number 10, which of the following is our true of a kickball violation near the end line? Which of the following is our true of a kickball violation near the end line? Okay. All right. I think most of us have logged in, a majority of us. And again, for those just logging on, you should be seeing questions pop up. Love it if you were to join in. Remember, I can't see who answers what. So if you get it wrong, I don't know that you got it wrong. Or if you get it right, I don't know you got it right. So, all right, we're going to end the poll. The correct answer is A. Um, Results in a throw in anywhere along the end line if it occurs on a throw in that fouls an awarded goal. So it doesn't it doesn't turn into a designated spot throw in. So that's why it can't be all of the above. And actually, let me give a rules reference for that because of the results. 7-5-7B. And that states on page 56, a team retains this privilege if the scoring team commits a violation or common foul before the throw-in ends and before the bonus rule is in effect, and the ensuing throw-in spot would have been on the end line. So think of a similar common foul, another common situation where team A scores a layup. Uh, they're not the bonus yet, and they're playing in your shirt defense, and they grab somebody not in an intentional manner or anything, but it's a foul on team A while team B is trying to inbound the ball, and they haven't even inbounded it yet, and they're not the bonus. Team B can still run the end line because the foul occurred before that resulting throw-in had ended. All right, stop sharing. Moving on, number 11. A1 releases a try near the basket. B2 jumps and swings an arm in a legitimate attempt to block the shot, but misses the ball and contacts the backboard, causing the backboard to vibrate while the ball is above the cylinder. What is the correct ruling? And again, real life versus the way the rule question is written. Um, all right, going to end it now. Share the results. And the correct answer is B, basket interference. And, it's basically, I don't like the way that it's written above the cylinder. The cylinder goes infinitely up from the basketball ring. It goes all the way up to, the ceiling. So you're either within or outside of the cylinder. But basically what they were saying is it was above the ring. And uh, they want that to be basket interference, even if it's not on the ring or even if the ball, isn't touching the backboard while the backboard's vibrating, that kind of a thing. That's that is by rule, by definition, basket interference. And so you have to leave it up to your professional judgment. Is that backboard vibrating? How hard did that guy hit it? Did he hit it, enough to vibrate so that, I still err. My default mode is it's legal until it really trips your wire and raises your eyebrows, that kind of a thing. But by rule, if that ball is within the cylinder, it's going to be basket interference. All right, number 12. Which of the following results in the disqualification of a player? Okay, the answers are coming in really fast here on this one, so we're just going to end it. Uh, it is D, all of the above. Uh, two technical fouls, five personal, or some combination, of personal technical fouls, totaling up to five, or a single flagrant foul, technical or personal, and the person is disqualified. Moving on. Number 13. A1 releases the ball toward the basket while the ball is above the cylinder. Again, that goofy wording. While the ball is, I'm just going to say the way I want to say it, within the cylinder or above the ring. And on its downward flight, B3 swats the ball away. What is the correct ruling? All right. I'm going to end this one. Most of us got this. We nailed it. It's goaltending. Now, for those of you who say basket interference, if you're in a game, please don't fight with your partners about no, 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 it's basket interference. It's not goaltending. It's going to be 2 points either way. But by definition, the way that the rule is written is goaltending, and not basket interference. But the end result is still the same. 2 points awarded to Team A. Got nearly 70 people logged on now. For those just logging on, feel free to join us answering the questions. The more that answer it, the more fun that it is, at least for me. A3 is awarded one free throw after being fouled during a successful try. Team B is granted a timeout prior to the free throw administration. Upon return from the timeout, the administrating official incorrectly tells both teams two shots. Uh-oh. A3 misses the free throw and the ball is not rebounded. All players remain standing along the free throw lane lines, motionless in anticipation of another free throw. I'm laughing because I feel like all of us have been in a situation like this before in our careers. And if you haven't yet, you will be. The officials then realize their error, which team gets the ball. Um, Team A, because I like this answer. This was a fun answer. Team A because they had been getting most of the missed free throw rebounds in the game. So what do we got here? We got kind of a screw up on our part. Should have been only, and again, this happens after a timeout. And so while we're answering, I'm just going to kind of tell everybody, if you don't do this, start doing it. A1, A3 is awarded, a basket. He's shooting one free throw. We report the timeout, and as people are leaving, you say to your partner, if you're the administering free throw, A3 has one shot coming back. And your partner goes, A3's got one shot coming back. And it seems silly, but it's such a simple thing to prevent stuff like this. So most of us got this one. Uh, it is C, use the alternating possession. You know, that's usually what happens when there's no team control and you have a situation like this. You go to the alternating possession arrow, and hopefully it doesn't happen at a critical point in the game. But if it does, or if it happens at all, you just have to go to, the coach or coaches and just say, you know what, it was miscommunication. It was a screw up. By rule, this is how we get out of it. And we just got to move on. And that's pretty much the sentiment you just have to relay. But let's all work to prevent that from happening by using good communication before and after a timeout. Number 15. A1 attempts a bounce pass to A2, but the ball is kicked by B3, who is standing with 1 foot on the 3-point line. Where is the ensuing throw in? So again, remember high school now, real simple. If it occurs inside the 3-point arc, you're going to one of the two spots on the end line. If it goes outside the 3-point arc, is going to one of the two 28-foot spots. And so in this case, when the person is kind of straddling the line, where does it go? And for anybody who wants to look up the exact wording on this one, I'm just going to give you the rules reference 4-35-1C. 4-35-1C, because this is just one of those ones where you just kind of got to know it, you know. The answer is C, on the end line at the 3-foot spot outside the lane line on that side of the court. Answer is C. So it's almost like the violation has to occur, kind of completely outside the 3-point line for it to go to one of the 28-foot marks. That's the way to kind of think about it in your head. All right, moving on. Halfway through. Good job, guys. Number 16. Play is resumed at the point of interruption in all of the following except which. So three of these answers are correct, and one of them is not. Unless you think the answer is D, then really they're all correct. And even for us new officials, hopefully you've had a part to be, even if you haven't been the one to have to dish out, a technical foul. Hopefully you've been part of a game. I don't want to say hopefully, that means somebody's gotten upset in the game, but it's a good experience at some point that you're going to have to learn to how to administer. And again, this is not college. So if you're watching on TV and you see technical foul free throws and then they go back to the point of interruption, you're watching a college game. Don't let that bleed into the high school rule. The high school rule is after a technical foul, unsporting conduct by a player, coach, whatever, it's going to go opposite the table at the division line to the offended team. And that's why they have, whoops. Oh, wait a second. I know what I did. Stop sharing. Um, And that's why they put that question in there, because a lot of us do watch college basketball and they don't want us getting it confused with the college game. 17. A1 attempts a bounce pass to A2, but the ball is kicked by B3, who is standing between the 3-point line and the free throw lane. Where is the ensuing throw in? Very similar, so similar that I thought I was reading the same question again, and I forgot that this second one was there. This one should be pretty quick for us. And most of us are rocking this one, so I'm just going to move it along. So the answer is the answer is D. It's on the end line again, because this was an easy one. The violation occurred totally within the 3-point line. And again, the 3-point line in high school, that is the line of demarcation for where the ball is going to get, where the ensuing throw-in spot will be. Number 18. When setting a screen on a stationary opponent within the opponent's visual field, how much time and distance shall the screener provide prior to contact? So I'm going to just give all of us this particular one, this particular rules reference answer is 4-40-3. Okay. But if I give any of us homework for tonight, it's this. Read all of 40 dash, excuse me, 4-40. It's on 2 pages, page 42 and 43 of the rules book. 4-40. It's 8 different articles, and it all has to do with screening. And this is one where we could all do a better job at being more consistent with how all the different screening type scenarios are written in the rule book. And so, as a new official, if you want to get really good and really comfortable at what is and is not an illegal screen, 4-40. All right. And I'm going to end it. I'm going to share the results. And this is why I kind of wanted to emphasize that rules reference and make sure we all had it and we can look at it. It'll take you, 5 minutes to read, but it'll help your game a lot. The answer is A. Because it's stationary, it's a stationary situation, no time and distance are necessary. You will see this a ton in a middle school game where that ball handler's dribbling, he's not going anywhere or she's not going anywhere, and the defender's just standing right there, and they say blue or they call their play, and somebody from the elbow comes running up and stands right next to that person. Neither of them are moving, and then the dribbler goes around. You see it all the time in like middle school level basketball. And if the timing's off, where that dribbler starts going and the defender starts moving, and that screener tries to get still there right next to him, and the timing's off, is going to turn into an illegal screen because now the defender is no longer stationary. So 4-40, read up on it. In this instance, in this scenario, the way they wrote it, the answer is A. 19. A1 releases the ball towards the basket while the ball is within the cylinder. It's written above the cylinder, but within the cylinder, and on its downward flight, A2 grabs the ball with 2 hands and dunks it through the basket. What is the correct ruling? I'm interested to see what we all. So if you haven't answered all the questions yet or any of the questions, please answer this one because this was one where we had some discussion about it. And for those of us who took the test early, um, uh, uh, the system was accepting one particular answer as correct, but it's no longer correct. And so there's some confusion out there about this one. And I want to see what we all respond with. So what is the result in the scenario as laid out in number 19? Ball is within the cylinder, on its downward flight, offensive player grabs the ball, slams it through, and the crowd is going nuts because it's some short kid that no one knew could dunk that high or something, could jump that high. All right, we got about 45. No more results are coming in. I'm going to end the poll and show the results. All right. So B is the correct answer. It's offensive basket interference, no score. So we had a lot going on in this question. I'll just spend a little bit of time real quick to kind of break it down. The answer I was alluding to before that was the correct answer at first in the system. If you like took the test like the day that it came out, but then a few days later, it's no longer the correct answer. Is D. Legal play, the basket counts. Now, it could be legal, and that's why the way the wording of above the cylinder was kind of a little weird. I wish they had just said above the ring or within the cylinder, but ostensibly what they meant was they meant to say it's within the cylinder. And so if that ball was outside the cylinder, remember, there's no more distinction in high school. Is it a pass or is it shot? If that ball is outside the cylinder and the offense grabs that ball, whether or not the person who let it fly meant it as a shot or not, they can dunk it through, and only the person who actually threw the ball will know whether or not he meant it as a shot, but it doesn't matter. But it has to be outside the cylinder. And again, if it's in or outside the cylinder, again, my default mode is let it be outside the cylinder unless it's clearly within the cylinder, given like a situation like that. But if it's within the cylinder and it's on its downward flight, what did they change in the rule book this year? Does downward flight, if it's grabbed by the offense, can the offense commit goaltending? The answer is no. This year, the offense cannot commit goaltending. They insert the word goaltending can, defensive player. Only the defense can commit goaltending. And so that's why that makes this one, the ball is within the cylinder. That's kind of how they meant it. And the action was committed by the offense. And so in that case, it's basket interference. And I think in most cases when this happens, it'll be pretty obvious that ball's about ready to go through, and somebody goes in and they just kind of help it through, with a dunk, and you it'd be pretty obvious. I think once you saw it, it'd be offensive basket interference. So that was one that kind of strangely worded, but is worth talking about. And again, it's somewhat of an academic, if you say offensive goaltending, again, you're going to wipe the basket away. But remember, academically, rules tests, only defense can commit goaltending. All right. Yep, Adam, I agree. Huge difference between within and above the cylinder because I still say that you can't be above the cylinder. It goes infinitely up to the ceiling, but that's okay. I appreciate everybody who rates these rules. Try writing some rules questions. It's not easy. A1 with both feet in the air, catches a pass ball, lands on one foot, jumps, and finally lands on both feet simultaneously. Which of the following is A1 allowed to do? And you can see some good athletes do some crazy stuff. They're running, they jump that and catch that pass, and their momentum takes them a few feet, and they land on one foot, and their momentum keeps carrying. They jump off that one foot, and to gather themselves, they land on both feet. And everybody's looking at them, wondering what are they going to do next? Holy cow, that was athletic. And you, as an official, you have to know what they can and cannot do next. All right. Do, 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 do. All right. I'm going to end it now. We've got about two-thirds of us responding. And again, I really appreciate everybody who's able to take time answering. The answer is A. The answer is A. They can lift either foot off the floor while maintaining possession of the ball and not returning that foot to the floor. And I'm going to give you all the rules reference for this one since I see we have a nice variety of answers. And again, if you're a newer official, and even for some of us veteran officials, rule 4, definitions. Learn it, love it. 4-44 on page 44, easy to remember, and that is the traveling definitions. And this one in particular, you want to look at 4-44, Article 2A3, and 4-44-4A. And those ones in particular is how you answer this question. But again, much like the screen, just read all of 4-44. Traveling and screening definitions will help your game a lot. All right. 21. The assistant coach uses his cell phone or tablet to record a game. Action from the team bench. Legal or not legal? Legal or not legal? All right. Got a good number of us answering it. The correct answer is B. It's not legal. So you can use iPads and other things, tracking stats, draw up a play or anything like that on the team bench. That's all fine, but you can't use it to record the game from the bench. The game recording, you have to go do someplace else in the gym, like where I sit with my kid, all the way up at half court, all the way high up and sit in the catbird perch and record the game up there. Can't be done from the bench. If you're interested in reading it, that was a kind of a revision that was made a little bit. That's why we have a rules question on it. 1-19. 1-19, page 17. All right, 22. Moving along. I'm not going to read these answers, but I'll read the question. A1 begins his dribble outside his three-point arc. Dribbling towards his basket, he touches the ball with both hands while only his right foot is touching the floor inside his three-point arc. To create some space between himself and the defender, he jumps back off that right foot that was inside the three-point arc and lands on both feet simultaneously at the same time outside the three-point line. A1 then jumps off both feet, lets it fly. That is successful. What do we have? What do we have? I know the answer is a little long. Question was a little wordy. Had to kind of, whoops, let me admit a few people. Had to kind of give a good descriptor. You see this one a lot. Jump off one foot, land on both at the same time to get that shot off. People practice this. It's coach now. All right. Looks like most of us are answering this one, logging on. Going to end the poll. Show the results. Most of us got this one. Answer C, it's legal, successful three-point try, and primary coverage area, PCA, for those of you who don't know, is primary coverage area. Should give the three-point signal. And again, this one, 4-44, page 44. It's within the traveling rules definition. If you were to read 4-44, you would probably end up getting this one right. Right, number 23. Basket interference occurs when someone slaps or strikes the backboard, causing the backboard or basket to vibrate while the ball is on or within the basket, or is touching the backboard or within the cylinder. See, they said within the cylinder on this one. I love it. What's the answer here? Is this true or false? Is this a correct definition of basket interference? I love it. I'm going to stop it. 95+%. Yes, that is true. That is, basket interference. I won't belabor that point. Game officials shall only determine the designated throw-in spot for violations of fouls by using the three-point arc line only in the front court. In the back court, the throw-in spot is always a spot nearest to the 28-foot line. Is this true or false? Are those four spots? Is Is that only, do we only do that in the front court, or is it going to be in the back court too? Hmm. This is a bit of an update this year. Again, detecting a theme. This is why they ask us the questions that they do, because they want to drill home the rules changes and the new rules. All right, most of us got this one. The correct answer is false, is B. So remember, unlike last year, this year now, front court, back court, other than it going out of bounds, which is that's wherever it went out of bounds on a deflection or off somebody's foot because they can't dribble or whatever, that's closest to where it went out of bounds. Everything else is going to be the 28-foot marks or the two spots on the end line. One exception being after a technical foul. That would go to the division line. So now they've really simplified it for us. Out of bounds, nearest to it, everything else, one of those 8 marks or a technical foul, division line, opposite the table. All right, 25. We're kind of on the home stretch, everybody. Game officials observe A25 dunking or attempting to dunk during pregame warmups. Penalty. This happened during my kid's JV game. And the player genuinely, honestly did not know that that he wasn't supposed to do that. So some variation of a technical foul. Got that much right. But what kind of technical foul? This is a bit of a change. It changed a few years ago, and we're still wanting to get it locked in. All right, we got most people responding. All right, the answer is a team technical foul. So it would still count towards, the first quarter total number of fouls, all that kind of thing for shooting free throws. But it's a team technical foul. Why does that matter? Because it's treated like, in this case, like an administrative technical foul, similar to an administrative technical foul, in the sense that the coach is not going to lose his coaching box privileges, and that player is not going to start with a technical foul that would go towards his disqualification. It's just a technical foul assessed to the team. Again, back in the day, he used to be considered at that time, for this purpose, bench personnel, and he dunks, and the coach would lose, the coaching box, and you just hate it. Whenever you saw that as an official, and you thought to yourself, "Oh boy, did the opposing coach see that? Can I squint and pretend I didn't see that?" Or you drag the player over and you make him tell the coach what he did and why he is about to, have his coach lose the coaching box and all that kind of stuff. None of that anymore. It's just a team technical foul. You still start off with 2 shots to the opposing team, and that opposing team will get the ball at the division line for a throw, and you don't start with a jump ball. That's a situation where, don't forget, the arrow, though, would be pointed towards the team who actually committed the technical foul, because, the first team to have possession would be the offended team. Hope
Yeah,
I
Shane, that's the same thing. If it occurred at the end of regulation, we have a tie game and we're going into overtime and we get a technical foul at that point at the end of regulation, it'll carry over into overtime, right?
Correct. And the way we think about it that way is it's easy to kind of remember that if you remember that overtime is considered an extension of the fourth quarter. So do fouls carry over? Like, do we reset them to zero? Nope. It's an extension of the fourth quarter. Now they get an extra timeout each, but do we have to wipe out all the unused timeouts for? Nope. It's an extension of the fourth quarter. So it's a easy way to think about it if you consider that. Good question. Number 26. After a delay warning has been given to Team B, player B25 fails to immediately pass the ball to the nearest official when a whistle sounds. Is a player technical foul okay, hold on. I just read that. B25 fails to immediately pass the ball to the nearest official when a whistle sound is a player technical foul that counts toward disqualification. That's just weird. Basically, is this a true or false scenario situation? And I can see why a lot of people are answering the way that they are, and this is a good one. And the key word is that counts towards disqualification. Give me 1 second. I want to look it up here.
Shane, it's 10-1G.
You nailed it. It is. It's 10-2-1G. And I want to look it up so I can read it for everybody. So what is 10-2 at all? 10-2 is team technicals. So the people who answered, I should probably show the results, shouldn't I? The people who answered A knew that as a technical foul. It's just not a it's just not a player technical foul. That goes towards disqualification. It's a team technical, similar to that dunk at the beginning of the game as a team technical foul. And it doesn't count towards that player's disqualification. So if that player later, has an unsporting conduct penalty and is assessed a unsportsmanlike technical foul, he wouldn't be thrown out of the game because the other one was a team technical foul. If y'all excuse me just 1 second, I got a cat here who is getting in my way. So that one is B, false. Number 27. A1 ends his dribble with B1 guarding him closely. B1 makes contact with the ball while in A1's hands. A1 begins a new dribble. What do we got? Is that cool? Everything fine with that? Yeah, hurting kittens indeed. This can be kind of like working a middle school game. All right. The answer is C. This is a dribbling violation unless B1's contact with the ball has caused it to lose control of it. Most of us got this one right, so I'm gonna give the rules reference of 9-5-2 for those of you who want to read up on it. And again, 9-5 is a legal dribble violation summary. So if don't just read 9-5 Article 2, read the whole thing. That's what I like when I get into this. I might read one particular article, but then I'll read the whole kind of rule section there. Stop sharing. Number 28. When a coach enters the court to attend to an injured player with or without being beckoned by a game official, that player must leave the game. Is that a false statement? Is it true, but he can't be bought back in with a timeout? Or is it true and he can be bought back in with a timeout? And I'll give you a hint. This is different from football. What do we got? Coach enters the court, tend to an injured player. Player has to leave the game. False or true with a couple different modifiers. All right, got about 2/3 of us answering. I'll share the results. Most of us got this one right. And again, between A and B, we all knew that the players gotta leave. But in basketball, he can be bought back in with a timeout. In football, they take the injury thing a little bit more seriously, and also, somebody goes down to, maybe stop the clock or something like that, at least in high school or whatever. They want there to be, either for safety reasons or for maybe somebody who's not that hurt, to be some penalty, that player's got to go out, at least for a play in football. But in high school, you can buy him back in with a timeout, at least for basketball.
Shane, are we obligated to ask the coach if he wants a timeout?
We are not obligated. We are not obligated. But if they start to protest or they say, "Oh, no, he's good, he's good to go," like maybe the coach, is coming out and you beckon the coach out, and then the player starts to get up, and the coach is like, "Oh, okay, he's good, he can play," and it's like, "No, coach, he has to go out." No, he's good. Coach, if you want, you can buy him back in with the timeout. That's kind of how you could kind of, have that conversation. And of course, if they ask you, answer like, "Yeah, coach, you can buy back in with a timeout. You want a 30, but are we obligated to do so? No. Use your kind of judgment with the flow of the conversation as far as like, providing that information or not. Good
Thank you.
question. Good question. I like those, how do you handle, like, the rule, but how do you handle, those situations?
In that situation, if the coach says, yes, I want a timeout, did they use the timeout while they were attending to the player? Or do they still get to have an additional timeout with their team on the sideline?
Excellent question. So the timeout would start once that player is up and off the court, and the coach can, actually coach timeout. So that player might be down for like maybe a couple minutes, massaging a cramp or something like that. And then the coach had said, "Hey, I'm going to call a timeout after he gets up. It's just a cramp. I want him back in." You would go to the table, say, "All right," after he's up and, by the bench, you say, "All right, coach, blue, full timeout. Go ahead, start the clock." Then both teams, get like the full 60-second timeout at that time. It doesn't run concurrently. Another good question. All right, so 29. I haven't posted these results yet, so we're on 29 now. Okay. On A1's second of two free throws, the ball hits the ring, bounces up, and hits the top of the backboard, and then passes through the basket. This is an oldie but a goodie, and I love it because this is one that can catch some newer officials off guard, and frankly, it can catch some veteran officials off guard along with coaches. What do we got here? All right. You you're not making this easy on me. Oh, I know what she wants. Oh, she wants I have twist ties. She's going after the twist ties. The answer is A, the basket counts. And what you want to look at is, what part of the backboard is out of bounds. So 4-4-5, and then 7-1-2A3. And remember, side of the backboard, top of the backboard, bottom of the backboard are all in bounds. Back of the backboard or the support is out of bounds, or if the ball passes over the backboard in either direction.
Hey, Shane, I should know this. Who would if it hits if it hits a rope or something uh, above the backboard, would that be the center or the trails call?
For that one, it could be either.
It could be either.
It could be either. And I like a lot of the ones that is hard to see. I've been parts of some gyms where it's that backboard where the wire will raise the backboard up like this. And there's a wire that's going from the top of the backboard at like a 45-degree angle, and sometimes a really high bounce. And you maybe can't even see if it hit the wire, but you almost have to look for, does the wire vibrate? If that wire starts to vibrate after the ball kind of comes in the air, you're thinking, okay, it looked like it hit the wire, or maybe
Yeah.
that ball took a different direction. But yeah, center or trail. Um, and lots of times it just comes down to who's got the better view and can see that kind of wire and ball contact better.
Thank you.
Yeah, good question. Good question. Stop sharing. We're on the last one, and we're on 30. A5 is dribbling the back in the backcourt. As she approaches the division line, she dribbles the ball once in the front court and steps into the front court with only one foot while keeping her other foot in the backcourt. She then touches that same foot in the backcourt. So ball's dribbling in the front court, right foot touches the front court, left foot's in the backcourt, right foot comes back into the backcourt. People going to be screaming. What do we have here? Do we have anything? And most of us got this one. Good one to end on. Correct answer is B, no violation. 4-4-C. Remember, the 3 points of contact, both feet and the ball, or at least one foot and the ball without the other foot touching in the backcourt. So yeah. So I'm going to stop sharing. That was the last one. Does anybody have any questions on the rules test this year before I share that goaltending off the backboard example that I promised to share? Okay. All right. Some good questions today. Where is sharing? Somebody missed number 29. Number 29 was A. Oh, there's sharing. Okay. All right. I'm going to share the whole thing. All right, here,
No student section, not gonna like it.
let me maximize this. All right. And this was, I don't think he'd mind if I say his name. This was shared by Steve Tanner, and he's like, this was a great example of the new rule this year where ball hits the backboard, swatted away by the defense, goaltending, but pay particular attention to the lower right-hand portion of your screen. That's not the fourth quarter. It was overtime. 5.2 seconds to go, 44-44. I don't know if we've had dunks in this game. I don't know if we've had other goaltending plays, but the point of the matter is always be ready for it. Don't get caught off guard.
No speed section, not gonna like that. Chris Powell, love that athletic director. Now they get it into Metcalf. Metcalf, Dickerson inside. And they're gonna call it a goaltend. Now that was a goaltend.
All right. Watch it one more time. Watch the C. It occurs on his side, and he was
Not gonna like that. Chris Powell, love
down
that
here
athletic director. Now
on
they
the
get it into
screen.
Yeah, it's an inside. And they're gonna call it a goaltend. Now that was a goaltend.
Yeah. All right. So I mean, it's pretty clear that that was, you know, a goaltend, but it's nice to see a local example uh in the wild, so to speak, of like, you know, those new rule examples. And so I plan to send that out to everybody. And I just want to say a couple last minute housekeeping things, and I'll put this in that email. If you come across examples like that, um, share them with me. If you think they would be a great example to like send out, I'm going to try to see if I can't get some more regular examples of those kinds of plays with some rules references going out via email that we can share with everybody. Because if your game, or if you know somebody's game who is on the National Federation High School Network, I can take clips about a minute or so or less of those plays and share that with anybody. You don't have to have a subscription to receive the clips. Or if you have like got a huddle video from a coach, so you could see a particular play, and you think you want to share that with everybody, or you think it might be worth sharing, send to me. Or if you don't want it shared, you just want interpretation, Jim, me, Rick, you know, we can all take a look at it and we can, you know, kind of give our opinions. And I don't mind getting these. I like getting these because it helps make me better because I can't possibly experience everything, but by people sharing me videos, I can be better prepared myself. And so I'll try to share the wealth a little bit as possible, as much as possible. Other than that, on behalf of Bob Check, Gary Wagon Shoots, D. Little, Malcolm Pennington, Thomas Burrell, and Mike Evoy, Wallace Whitfield, and all the basketball signers, keep your blocks and schedules up to date. Uh, People are getting sick. People are going on vacation. People are getting injured, you know, as far as officials go, and they will need replacements. So have your schedule availability up to date and be open when you're open. If you're not open, make sure you're blocked. Again, don't make those assigners do double work. Other than that, I'll pause for anybody who has questions or anything. Uh, do double check your MIGs. I think we're more or less up to date. If your MIGs is not up to date, email me and Mike and we'll help get you up to date. All right. Okay. I love and appreciate y'all. I love that so many people logged in. And 8:30, not bad. Take it easy and have a good one wherever you find yourself.
Thanks, Shane.
Thanks, Shane.
Great meeting, Shane. Thank you.